No. You rise to the occasion. Experience comes with age, and I've been hearing a lot about age, you know.
We are now, and I finally get to check that off my list, and I knew this was going to be a big fight. The build-up for this is huge. The press conferences are entertaining. It's a spectacle.
With only 17 days remaining before the Anthony Joshua-Jake Paul clash, the tension is reaching its peak as both men push themselves to their limits. Joshua is fine-tuning his power, timing, and footwork, while Jake grinds through intense conditioning sessions to close the gap. At this stage, every workout carries weight, and the atmosphere surrounding the fight grows thicker and more urgent as the countdown continues.
And I have nothing but love for him, but I'm going to knock him out respectfully, and you know, we can hug and kiss afterwards, specifically kiss.
Training camp for his upcoming fight with Jake Paul is already in full motion, and this time it marks a major shift in his approach. After his knockout loss in September 2024 and the elbow surgery that followed, this camp carries a heightened sense of urgency. Joshua has switched camps and is now working with members of Alexander Usyk's coaching team, focusing on conditioning, technical refinement, footwork, and overall ringcraft to enter the bout sharper and more intelligent. Joshua admits the change has been a serious adjustment. The new environment has pushed him harder than ever, physically and mentally. He's using the process to rebuild his confidence, sharpen his strengths, and prepare for what may be one of the most pivotal comeback moments of his career. His mornings now begin with intense ice baths, a routine aimed at reinforcing his body and speeding up recovery. The freezing temperatures reduce inflammation, keep his muscles fresh for the day's workload, and strengthen his mental resilience. Joshua sees these cold therapy sessions as a way to sharpen his focus and prepare himself for the demanding training that follows. It's a disciplined, unforgiving routine that reflects his determination to show up stronger and fully prepared when fight night arrives. Anthony Joshua has immersed himself in a training environment defined by discipline, precision, and constant refinement. Guided by experienced coaches whose methods center on technical sharpness and strategic awareness, he approaches each session with clear intent. His drills are designed to tighten his offensive bursts while building a defense that reacts instantly and instinctively. Coaches track every detail, his rhythm, foot placement, punch selection, pushing him to break old habits and elevate his overall ring IQ. Ringside observers note how seriously Joshua absorbs every correction. Rather than relying on natural power, he focuses on mastering angles, distance control, and well-timed counters. His movement has become more purposeful, transitioning smoothly between defensive slips and crisp counterpunch combinations. The atmosphere in camp demands growth not only in strength and stamina, but in mental sharpness. Each session hones the instincts needed for the unpredictable, split-second moments that define elite heavyweight boxing. Eddie Hearn views this matchup with a sense of seriousness, fully aware of how much is at stake for Joshua. He understands that the consequences extend far beyond headlines or bragging rights. The outcome could shape the entire trajectory of the latter half of Joshua's career. Hearn is candid. A loss in a fight like this would force difficult questions about whether continuing would even make sense. Yet despite the weight of those implications, Hearn's confidence in Joshua hasn't wavered. He believes the months of dedicated work, from conditioning to elite-level sparring, have rebuilt Joshua's discipline and sharpened his focus. Every aspect of training has been treated with championship-level urgency. According to Hearn, that mindset is the foundation of his belief that Joshua will meet the moment. Reports from inside the gym reinforce this confidence, describing a fighter who appears composed, driven, and fully dialed in. Even with immense pressure surrounding him, Joshua continues to push forward, embracing the challenge rather than shrinking from it.
I think he's at that stage of his career where he's trying to rediscover a little bit of that confidence. He's gone to Alexander Usyk, where we're hearing reports he's out there, training with Usyk and the team, trying to pick up something, trying to rediscover something.
That's very strange, Paul, isn't it?
It is, but it's not unheard of. I've heard of a lot of fighters doing that. You see fighters, obviously, it's the old Rocky movies years ago, but you see a fighter losing to someone, all of a sudden they go in the camp and they start training and do little bits together and become friends or whatever else. I think it'll do Joshua no harm travelling, but as you say, he's a little bit long in the tooth and he's a bit on the back nine rather than the front nine, where that experience would really come into play. But I'm just looking at his record here. He obviously after the Usyk fight, he'd come back and he had 3 fights, and then the Ngannou demolition
Well,
job.
yeah, Jermaine Franklin, he had Robert Helenius, he had Otto Wally, and he smashed Ngannou, which everyone went hallelujah for, right?
Yeah, but he's obviously not in like the BoxRec rankings to see where he is. But the Dubois fight is a fight where what you've just said then, Spencer, like match him right. I felt he was match right with Dubois. That's just my opinion.
Just
obviously I was wrong on that, and I was proved wrong. But I felt like Joshua would have and should have came through that, but he obviously didn't. So therefore, it's back to the drawing board, and where do you go from there? What do you do from there? Does he keep the same team around him? Does he go and find someone new and try and adapt and add to his repertoire already? And this move at Usyk, I don't know what it'll be, but if he's fighting before Christmas, then he needs to get in shape quick, because there's only 8 weeks to go, let's say.
Well, my understanding, he's in camp, he's in shape, and just looking to getting out and get back to winning ways is my understanding. That's why they're talking about 8-rounders.
Yeah.
He wants to sort of go under the radar a little bit, and it's difficult for someone like Anthony Joshua because he's such
Very
a
much so.
commercial commodity.
He's always been in shape all the time, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He always will be in shape. He's never, ever not been...
But it's not about his
dedicated.
physical shape, is it? No one's ever questioned his physical state. Zach, when I was talking about Anthony Joshua, and I know that the president of his fan club is here in Spencer, but I talked about the PTSD issue post various fights, whether it be the Alexander Usyk or the Daniel Dubois situation. But prior to Daniel Dubois, I always maintained that I felt that despite the performance against Jermaine Franklin, despite the performance against Robert Helenius, which had been blasted out by Deontay Wilder.
One reason Joshua's confidence remains so high is the caliber of sparring partners he brings into camp. Footage shows him trading punches with top-tier heavyweights, each offering a different kind of challenge. Jared Anderson, known for his explosive power and relentless tempo, forces Joshua to stay defensively sharp. Every reaction matters, and any hesitation is punished. Anderson keeps him alert from the first second of a round to the last. Frank Sanchez presents an entirely different test with his slick, technical style. His ability to glide around the ring, slip shots, and maintain perfect balance pushes Joshua to adapt on the fly. Against Sanchez, Joshua must think faster, refine his footwork, and approach every exchange with greater strategy. These sessions go far beyond physical conditioning. They simulate the intensity and complexity of true elite-level competition. Each sparring partner applies a kind of pressure Jake Paul has never encountered. Their contrasting styles help Joshua refine a complete game, built on timing, precision, and the ability to shift tactics in an instant.
Saying that you and AJ must retire if Jake Paul wins on December 19th. Stand by that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, oh, I suppose so. Shit, yeah. Look, I don't see a world where Jake Paul wins this fight. I know that boxing's boxing. And I mean, what was it? Roy Jones came out this morning and said Jake Paul can win this fight.
Teddy Atlas as well.
Teddy Atlas? Okay. All right, now I'm a bit worried. I won't retire. AJ should retire if he loses, no.
Sorry.
No, I see AJ winning this fight with ease, comprehensively, destructively, violently, and I don't see a world where Jake Paul is competitive in the fight, let alone win the fight. But luckily, AJ's not preparing in a way that he just thinks it's a joke. He's preparing for Jake Paul like he's a world title contender. Yes, it's been a little bit of a shorter camp. Yes, we've got to make weight this time around, but it doesn't matter. We should just slide through this guy and bash him up and beat him up, and we should do it early doors.
Just lastly, you said as well that you told Nikisa that he was weighing 290 when you were negotiating. What impact did that have? Did you feel like they would have gone even lower if they knew he was weighing 265?
No, I mean, I don't think that when you're negotiating on a weight, there's not one promoter in the world that would tell the truth about what the weight of the fighter was, and Nikisa knows that anyway. So it wasn't like we were being clever, but they wanted him to come to 240. And it's just, don't forget, AJ's never made weight before. So all of a sudden, he's tried. He'd been in camp for, 2 or 3 weeks, and he's probably sitting at, 260, 265, and it's like you got to make two.
Tony Jeffries views Jake Paul's rise through the lens of someone who has watched his development unfold over several years. He acknowledges that Jake started with minimal skill, but gradually embraced the level of commitment required to become genuinely competent. Jeffries points to clear improvements in Jake's fundamentals, his punch mechanics, sense of distance, and overall training discipline. He credits Jake for working with experienced coaches and pushing himself far beyond what most expected from a beginner. In Jeffries' view, anyone who insists Jake hasn't evolved simply hasn't been paying attention to his progression.
Jake Paul is being dwarfed by these way bigger heavyweights like Jared Anderson, Frank Sanchez, and Lawrence Okoli. Okoli is like 6'4.5", 6'5", and these guys are like 6'3", 6'4", probably. So Now Jake Paul is the one that's smaller. So first of all, I will give credit to Jake Paul. Clearly, he's a person who is taking his career seriously. These are quality sparring. I mean, a real boxer, because people say he's not a real boxer, but a real boxer would be using the same guys in their sparring camp. In fact, I just told you Joshua used Lawrence Okoli. I don't know if he sparred with Anderson or Frank Sanchez, but these are all regular ranked heavyweights. So credit to Jake Paul for that. And, I mean, he's going to need it. Joshua is a different breed to, like, you know, a Mike Perry when it comes to boxing. Different frame, different size. In case you didn't believe me, right? Jake Paul, this is what MVP Promotions posted. So Jake Paul top sparring, right? Heavyweights. And here's some pictures of Joshua with Lawrence Okoli. And again, Joshua, a big dude, but you see Lawrence Okoli, and he probably was cruiserweight back then. I mean, I don't know exactly when this picture was taken, but he's only like an inch shorter than Anthony Joshua. And now, as he's moved up to the full heavyweight, he has filled out more. You see, he looks even bigger than when he was a cruiserweight. Now, I got to research it, but I want to say I thought Lawrence Okoli.
Professional fighter Lamont Roach sees Jake's decision as courageous but extremely high risk. From a competitive viewpoint, he understands the temptation. Jake has built his brand on defying expectations and proving critics wrong. Roach also points out the financial upside. This kind of matchup is massive, offering Jake an opportunity that most fighters never see so early in their careers. He also acknowledges the psychological element. Jake thrives on shock value, and stepping into the ring with someone as physically imposing as Joshua fits perfectly with that persona. But Roach emphasizes that courage must be balanced with realism. Joshua possesses true heavyweight power, something that demands far more than confidence to withstand. Roach respects Jake's drive, yet warns that this leap comes with dangers that can't be minimized, no matter how enticing the financial payoff may be.
You get older. Now, a problem for Anthony Joshua is his activity. He's only fought twice in 2 years, and one of them he got knocked out off Daniel Dubois. That was his last fight, and a lot of people say you can only judge a fighter's quality from their last fight. And then the fight before that was a win, but it was a win against Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou, if you know, he was the UFC heavyweight who's not a real boxer, and he only had one fight before that boxing fight, what he lost as well. So that's his activity in boxing. Now, Jake Paul, on the other hand, looking at his box rec, he's had 6 fights since 2023, and one of them was against Mike Tyson. But we all seen what happened in that fight. Mike Tyson was well past his prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime, because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights, and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul, and I'm thinking, not really. It's better for Anthony Joshua, because he's just going to go all out for them 8 3-minute rounds. And imagine that, Anthony Joshua blasting at you, 6'6", whatever he is, 250 pounds, throwing big bombs at you. Anyway, both fighters will be using 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. Why have they got that? It says both fighters will be wearing 10-ounce gloves for the duration of the contest. What do you expect? Them to take them off halfway through?
Sonnen speaks with blunt honesty, asking whether Jake is showing admirable courage by stepping up or diving into something that defies all logic. He respects Jake's willingness to face opponents who appear far beyond his level, but he questions the wisdom of choosing someone with Joshua's size, pedigree, and knockout power. Courage, he argues, becomes reckless when the preparation can't match the danger. Taking risks is commendable. Taking uninformed risks is dangerous, especially in a sport where a single moment can change everything.
Excuse me. My first thoughts was this guy's crazy. Not gonna lie. But I get it. Coming from a guy who's not a true traditional boxer, and to be able to have a position where he can fight a former unified world champion, former Olympic gold medalist, and to do it on such a stage where Anthony Joshua was a superstar as well. I mean, like, he sold out the O2, twice.
Absolutely.
I think. So, I think Jake is setting himself up for, a huge spectacle, and which is, kind of smart. If you're going to go big, why not go to the highest of the mountain? Why not? And I get it. That's what you call business right there. And I've seen a lot of guys calling them out, from like Gabe to, other guys who are boxers. Yeah, like guys who actually beat him. But why would he settle for those guys when he could fight Anthony Joshua? So I think that's, I think that's smart. I think that's super smart.
Smart is one thing. What do you think happens in the ring, though, champ?
I think he gets hurt for sure. I think he gets obliterated. Something close to like Francis Ngannou. I think something like that happens, and it's going to be bad for him. But
Angelo and Josh steer the discussion back to boxing fundamentals, stressing that the sport is built on layers of experience earned through years of disciplined competition and exposure to elite opponents. In their view, Jake Paul is still in a developmental phase, while fighters like Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder operate on a far higher plane, one defined by devastating power, refined technique, and long histories at the top level. They contend that Joshua belongs to a class of athletes whose very presence changes the texture of a fight. With their timing, explosiveness, and ability to generate fight-ending force in an instant, these fighters can flip a contest on its head even when the other man seems to be in control.
What if Jake makes it 5 rounds, 6 rounds? What if Jake made it to the distance? What if Jake won a round? Now, it's very hard to believe. It's very hard to imagine. I think it's the big struggle with this fight. I cannot, off the top of my head, produce a fight for you in any form of unarmed combat that drew, that was exciting, where the audience did not have a reasonable expectation, an expectation to some degree that, well, if he does this or that, there is a way for this guy to win. And that's usually pretty easy to do because nobody knows anything about fighting. Nobody watching this right now, none of you, my millions of viewers, not one of you has ever boxed. Not one of you knows someone in the family. Well, my dad was a boxer. My uncle was a boxer. No, you don't. Not only are you not a boxer, you don't even know of a boxer. Now, I only share that because when I come out and say nobody knows what they're talking about when they're talking about boxing, like, it's not meant to be an insult. You don't know anything about boxing. It was never taught to you. None of you in recess boxed. None of your junior highs, your high schools, your colleges, your community colleges offered boxing. Your hometown didn't have a boxing gym. Now really think about that. Because as much as you love the sport and as much as you think that you understand it, not only do you not understand it, you can't even have a conversation with other people who do because they don't understand it. So what is a win? I think that time counts. I think that time is a very big deal. You're in that little bitty ring, and I know a guy can run backwards, but running backwards is not illegal in boxing.
I think that he could compete at the highest level, and I don't think he'd beat the top 5, top 6 guys. But that in that weight class is where he'd be at, like say 180, 188 or 189, somewhere around there is where he'd probably compete. There's not a lot of talent there though. So he might be pretty good in those weight classes. him competing in the heavyweight division against like Deontay Wilder or Anthony Joshua or anybody else, no, he gets annihilated. I'm very surprised he signed this fight.
I was shocked he signed this fight. I texted my buddy Bo because Bo follows boxing really well, and I texted him. I was like, dude, we might see a death. And he said the same thing. He's like, I cannot believe he agreed to that fight. But the numbers, the numbers that are, nobody knows the true payouts. They're saying it's around $200 million that they're splitting evenly. So they're getting about $100 million each. He said that it was $267 million. So I don't know who you believe or don't believe, or it could be they're splitting 200 and the 67 delta, they had to pay DAZN because Anthony Joshua has a contract with DAZN. And this fight's going to be on Netflix. DAZN.
It's DAZN.
So they, which makes, how the hell?
Please stop saying DAZN, okay? That's like Saint Benoit, okay?
Where's the O in DAZN?